Happy Tuesday, everybody. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report, and we're live right here on Chat Sports on this beautiful July 9th of 2024. I'm Chase Sr., and no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, we appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. Producer Chip running the ship. Didn't even mean to rhyme, but I just did because we're spitting bars, and we have a lot to get to here on today's show. Here is the 49ers Report rundown. Should San Francisco bring back Tashaun Gipson, the safety suspended for 6 games for violating the NFL's PED policy? Could the Niners have a surprise starter at this safety position, given the uncertainty around Talanoa Hufanga's torn ACL and the recovery behind that? Is the Christian McCaffrey trade the best trade in the NFL over the last decade? We have some Brandon Aiyuk Commanders buzz, and of course, we always love chopping it up with the faithful. We want to do another mailbag segment, so get those questions in using the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. How would you grade your summer so far? I was doing some reflecting now that we're about halfway through the year, and I have had a really fun 2024. And I know that I asked you about your summer, but I've also had a really good summer. But this year, I think about what I've been able to do. College football national championship between Michigan and Washington. I was there in Houston. Super Bowl in Las Vegas. Niners Chiefs. NFL scouting combine in March. Able to take some good trips and see some friends and family members. It has been a lot of fun. I was in Florida over the weekend. So how would you grade your summer so far? A, B, C, D, or F, let me know. My summer has been an A. My year has been an A. What say you? Devilman said B. Paul Steele is feeling the way that all of us are feeling. I'm ready for football to start. Chip, your summer, A, B, C, D, or F, how's it gone so far?
It's been great. I can't complain. The only reason I give it a B, I need to get down to a beach, man. Okay. I need to get to a beach. It can't be an A until I get my toes in the sand somewhere.
I'm going to Maine end of July into August, and I'm kind of a lake over beach person. I do love going to the beach, but I love the peace, the serenity of the lake. You can kind of do anything that you want. I don't have to worry about some weird family over here, some antics over here, seagulls trying to take my food, sand getting everywhere. I just have my own place, and I'm able to take a swim without having to worry about a shark. I can take the boat out. I can do a workout. I can hit some golf balls into the lake. It's a lot of fun. So, yeah, that's my take on that. I'm seeing D from Dwayne. I hope that turns around. Eugene said B. That's what I like to hear. Let's see. What else do we have? Devilman said go Chiefs. Get out of here. Papa Bear, dude, I'm tired of Brandon Aiyuk. I totally get that. And to start off the show, we are going to talk about somebody other than Brandon Aiyuk. We're going to talk about Tashaun Gipson. Here's a quick snippet on what's going down with the now former Niners safety. We'll see if they bring him back. That'll be segment number 1. Suspended this week for 6 games for violating the NFL's PED drug policy. He is currently an unrestricted free agent. He did say he wants to return for a 13th season, and he did issue a statement saying this: during this offseason, I took a supplement one time, which I thought to be completely safe and well within any of the NFL's policies. I was in no way related to performance, training, or gaining an advantage of any kind at any time. I have competed at this level for a long time and have nothing but respect for the game and the fraternity of players in it. The NFL's policy on PEDs is clear, and I take full responsibility for anything I put into my body. It is with great disappointment that I accept this suspension, and I do so knowing that I have never even attempted to cheat the game. I look forward to returning for my 13th NFL season and helping a team compete for a championship. I do crack up because every PED statement and apology is literally the same thing. Chip and I were talking about that yesterday. It's like there's the apology. I took something that I didn't know was violating the league's stance on PEDs. But should the Niners bring back Tashaun Gipson? Give me a Y for yes and for no down in the comment section. Chip, you brought that to my attention. You were saying every PED suspension, apology, and statement, it's always the same verbiage. It's always the same message.
It's ridiculous. It's always like, I took something. I didn't know that whatever was in it was against the policy. And I get it because, these guys going to take a lot of things to recover and train and help them and whatnot. And there's a lot of things they put into their bodies. But you're telling me at that level you don't have someone looking over everything you're taking, knowing everything that's going into your body? Or, because even if you don't know it, there's nobody around you that knows it, that's checking everything. I get it's very specific, but
yeah,
they all say the same thing, man. It's ridiculous.
I will say that while the NFL has proven to really crack down on this matter, there can be one small ingredient within that substance or within whatever you're taking that could trigger a positive test. And when you're looking at the ingredients list, there's a lot on there sometimes when you're taking supplements, but the NFL is very strict. There's literally like a list of things you can and cannot take. So kind of unacceptable for that to happen, regardless of the apology. Here's our Super Chat menu for today. Let's have some fun on this Tuesday. $10 is a beer cheers. $20, I'll do 20 push-ups. $50 for a beer bong or a shotgun. If anybody sends in a $100 Super Chat, I'm doing a beer boot. And if we get to $200 in total Super Chats, I'm putting on the Jerry Rice jersey. Get on the show. We're going to do a mailbag. Use the hashtag 49ers or send in a Super Chat. And if you're ready to talk some San Francisco, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon. I like the video. Hovering around 100 people watching live. A lot of people getting that notification, piling into the show. Let's get some more people in here. How do we do that? You can help us out for free by liking the video and hitting that thumbs up icon. Okay, segment number 1, we're going to talk about Deshaun Gibson. Should the Niners bring him back? What's happening with the current free agent safety? We're going to dive into that here. Sit back, relax. Let's talk some San Francisco 49ers football right here live on the Niners Report, Tuesday, July 9th. Hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, and with that, segment number 1 of 4 getting underway right now. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, we appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. And on the show, should the Niners sign safety Deshaun Gibson following his 6-game suspension for PEDs this week? He did release a statement. He is not going to appeal this. He is taking ownership of his mistake. And he was suspended by the National Football League for violating the NFL's policy on performance-enhancing drugs. He is currently an unrestricted free agent after spending the last 2 years with San Francisco. And within his statement that we're about to read to you, he did say he wants to return for a 13th season, not sign an NFL free agency up to this point. And the question we want to pose for everybody here on the Niners Report: should San Francisco bring him back? First, here's what Gibson had to say. During this offseason, I took a supplement one time, which I thought to be completely safe and well within any of the NFL's policies. It was in no way related to performance, training, or gaining an advantage of any kind at any time. I have competed at this level for a long time and have nothing but respect for the game and the fraternity of players in it. The NFL's policy on PEDs is clear, and I take full responsibility for anything I put into my body. It is with great disappointment that I accept this suspension, and I do so knowing that I have never even attempted to cheat the game. I look forward to returning for my 13th NFL season and helping a team compete for a championship. That last bit there, I was a little bit surprised by. Gibson is an older player. He's been in the NFL for a really long time, as he noted. And I thought that after the Niners made it to the Super Bowl, he hasn't been signed. Maybe he was just going to call it quits. Maybe he still does retire. Does he retire when he looks around and says, no team willing to take a chance on me because of that PED suspension? It's been a great career. It's time to hang him up. Every PED suspension statement, though, is the same. So anytime in any sport there is an athlete who gets bopped for violating that league's policy on PEDs, they come out with the statement, and it's always the same thing. I unknowingly took a substance. I take full responsibility. I have never cheated the game. But the rules for substances are clear and also very, very strict. And anytime you're taking a supplement, you can get caught sometimes because the ingredient list sometimes can be very, very long. I think that NFL athletes should be more wary of what they put into their body, but there can be one bad ingredient in there that will flag a positive test. Then you get caught. Some people think that you're cheating. It's all downhill from there. It's no doubt unfortunate, and I don't think that Deshaun Gibson was trying to take something to cheat the game, but he is a little bit of an older player, probably trying to get the body right if he is trying to return for another NFL season. For the Niners here, the question becomes, will San Francisco bring him back after the suspension? And as part of that question, we of course have to look at the Niners safety position and the outlook of it, because I do think that while this Niners team is loaded, maybe the most talented team in football, they do have some weaknesses on this team, in particular at the safety spot. Thoughts on the safety position from yours truly here. You have Talanoa Hufanga coming off a torn ACL. Not sure when he's going to be back. He said his goal is to be ready for week 1, but he did suffer that injury against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in late November. The advances of medical science, surgeries, and recovery, it's gotten so good and it's enhanced to the point where when I was growing up as a kid, you tore your ACL, you were out at least a year. Now players come back 9 months. Sometimes it doesn't even affect their NFL careers, but in the physical game of football, you can't really bank on when you're going to come back from an injury like that because it all comes down to how you're feeling and if you have trust in that injury. And since it happened in late November, week 1 is not even really close to it being a year. So I don't think it's a sure thing that Hufanga is going to be back on the field for this Niners team come week 1 against the New York Jets in primetime. Now, Jair Brown did play really well once Hufanga got hurt. Third-round rookie out of Penn State, was used in a versatile type of way, and I thought he passed with flying colors. He was a really solid player, and he's one of my prime breakout candidates for San Francisco going into 2024. He's going into year 2. The Niners did draft Malik Mustapha in the 4th round out of Wake Forest. I like the player, but he's a rookie. And then as far as your backups go on top of Malik Mustapha, you do have George Odom, but he's been a career special teamer, one of the best special teamers in the National Football League, but a special teamer for a reason. If he has to get consistent snaps at that safety position, you might run into a concern in that back end. And here's the outlook, too, of that Niners safety depth chart. If Hufanga's back, him and Jair Brown are going to be the 2 starters there at strong safety and free safety. But the depth there is a little bit of a concern, which is why Deshaun Gibson is somewhat of an intriguing option. Malik Mustapha, Eric Harris, George Odom, Taylor Hawkins, Jalen Mahoney, the UDFA, those are the backups, and Deshaun Gibson better than a lot of those players who are currently on the pine. This is today's poll question. Should the Niners bring back Deshaun Gibson once he comes back from that PED suspension? Let me know down in the comment section. And as you venture down there, make sure you hit that subscribe button here on the Niners Report. Whenever there is Niners news, we talk about it right here on this show. Shows every single day right here on the channel. We also have some great deals that we always give you, like this Niners t-shirt combo on sale this summer for just $45. How do you get it? All you got to do is use that link down below, chatsports.com/49combo. It'll take you to Fanatics. We really appreciate Fanatics for making today's show possible. We'll put that link down below in the comment section and in the description of this video. As for Gibson, the player, right? Played really, really well for San Francisco the last 2 years, in 2022 and in 2023. He was originally a practice squad signing in the lead up to the 2022 campaign. Before that, he had played with Chicago, and he was a really good player for a long time, but it was looked at as a depth signing, an emergency signing, bringing in a veteran who is savvy and smart, where if you need to go in that direction, you can go in that direction, and you won't really miss much of a beat. But nobody thought that Gibson was going to play as well as he did in 2022, and then that to carry over in 2023. He performed so well going from the practice squad to the active roster that when Jimmy Ward came back in 2022, because he was banged up preseason, early portion of the season, that the Niners wanted to keep Gibson on the field because they didn't want to take him off, and with how he was performing, that they put Jimmy Ward at nickel. And Jimmy Ward, a team captain, former first-round pick under Jim Harbaugh, he wasn't happy about that. Now, he played nickel because it made this Niners team better, and that's credit to how Gibson was able to play. His Pro Football Focus grades in 2022, overall grade is 67.2, pass rush grade of 58.2. He's a coverage safety. Run defense grade of 89.5, really good. A coverage grade of 58, but on 671 coverage snaps, Gibson intercepted 5 passes. That was 4th in the NFL, and had a passer rating when targeted of 51.5. Elite right there. So that's a good example of Pro Football Focus numbers not really detailing how good or bad a player is. You'd look at those grades and say, coverage grade of 58, not good. A lot of passer rating of 51.5 and picked off 5 balls. And then in 2023, he made a lot of improvements and was statistically even better than he was the year before. Overall grade of 73.5. Run defense grade of 79.5, a coverage grade of 73.5, and in 667 coverage snaps, a passer rating allowed of 38.9, even better from the season before. So on that back end, he gave San Francisco really good coverage at that safety spot. He played better than anybody could have predicted. Again, practice squad signing. Some people thought he wasn't even going to make the 53. He was cooked. And in consecutive years, he has played very, very good football for this Niners team. The issue with him coming back, you can't count on him for 6 games. So I don't think that the Niners sign him soon. I think if an injury happens during the year, though, and you're in week 4, you're in week 5, and you know that Gibson is going to be able to come back soon, you bring in a smart vet, a good leader, a player who's respected, has familiarity with the team as well as the defense, and then you go that route. I do want to throw it back to when the 49ers report was in Las Vegas in the lead up to the Super Bowl. I had a great conversation with Deshaun Gibson about some of what we've talked about today. Going from the practice squad to becoming a starting safety for this team, playing so well that Jimmy Ward had to play in the slot. Really enjoyed this conversation, and it gives you a glimpse at the player and the person that Gibson is.
As a veteran, you've kind of been year to year over the last couple of years. To be on this stage playing for the right to win the Super Bowl, what's it mean to you as an older vet?
Oh, man, it's so cool. It's so surreal just to be able to have this opportunity to come and just be a veteran presence more than anything and be a part of something so special. Obviously, the 49ers, man, it was good before I got here. I just wanted to do my winter 11, and man, it's just been a match made in heaven. I'm just so fortunate that they welcomed me in and allowed me to just thrive and do my job. And man, I'm just so excited about the opportunity.
When they signed you going into the season last year, practice squad because of Jimmy Ward's injury, and then you get inserted as a starter. You played so well that they moved Jimmy to nickel. What has the last couple of years meant for you, and what has this organization meant to you?
This organization here, man, I can't tell people enough of how just fortunate I am to be able to be a part of something so special, man. Mr. Lynch, Coach Kyle, they brought me in. They were straight shooters from day one, and they gave me the opportunity to play. And their motto is the best 11 guys don't play. Obviously, we had the best 11 guys out there. And those guys, man, I have nothing but the utmost respect for those guys, man, just for the opportunity. Nobody else was calling my phone. They gave me opportunity. I definitely couldn't let them down.
Lastly, defending Patrick Mahomes, very tall test, especially with Andy Reid calling the plays and designing the plays. I know it sounds simple, right? But what are the complexities of covering the Chiefs?
You know, honestly, when you think about Andy Reid and the scheme that he can run, you give him a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, and it's what Andy Reid want to do on steroids. Obviously, man, Patrick Mahomes is going to go down as one of the best, if not the best, quarterback to play the game. Talent-wise, man, you just can't duplicate what he can do. So obviously, our hands is going to be full with the type of matchups that we have. They got good skill players as well. Travis Kelce, man, Hall of Fame guy. So it's gonna be a tough matchup for us. Man, we're excited about the challenge. Obviously, it's gonna be good on good, and that's what the Super Bowl is about.
And of course, we'll see what happens on the Gibson front if the Niners do bring him back. you can expect a video right here on the show. Be sure to give me a follow on X at Chase_Senior. I am so close to 13,000 followers. I'm on Instagram as well. 30,000 plus. I put out a lot of short form Niners content on those social media pages in addition to all of the long form stuff here on YouTube. So give me a follow and say what's up. Segment number 1 in the books. We're going to move forward to segment number 2. Here's our Super Chat menu. $10. I'm giving you a beer cheers. Who's going to make me crack this beer right here? 20, I'm doing 20 push-ups. 50 for a beer bong or a shotgun. 100, I'll do a beer boot if we get to 200 total. I'm rocking the Jerry Rice jersey. We are going to round out the show, segment number 4, with a mailbag. So use the hashtag 49ers or send in a Super Chat. Segment number 2. Could the Niners make a surprising lineup change and start a surprising player at the safety position? That's coming up next here. 100 people hanging out here with us. Make sure you continue to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. Christopher Montgomery, Devilman, Paul Steele, Daniel Barry, Dan Mab, George M. on the comment section right now. All right, going to move forward to segment number 2 here. We're going to talk about the safety position furthermore. Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. I'm Chase Senior. Thank you so much for hanging out here with us. We have a great show on tap for you. And what we want to discuss is this. Could the Niners make a surprising change to their depth chart at the safety position? And could this player rise to the forefront and get significant snaps at the safety spot? I do want to start off with this, though. Let's have some fun. Niners, Seahawks, one of the greatest rivalries in the history of the National Football League. So if you hate the Seahawks, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Furthermore, I want you to spam F Seattle down in the comment section. Can't wait for those two teams to clash here during the 2024 campaign. That player that I was referring to off the top is second-round pick out of Florida State, Renardo Green. Could he get some burn at the safety spot, given the uncertainty at the safety position with Talanoa Hufanga coming off that torn ACL? Let's explore it here. So the Niners back in April drafted Green, a cornerback, 64th overall in the draft. And with Hufanga coming off that torn ACL, there's some chatter that Renardo Green could get some reps at the safety position because San Francisco is a little bit thin there. He is a smaller player at 186 pounds. That's why at Florida State, 5-year college player, he played mostly outside corner, sometimes in the slot, but he is a good cover guy. He's physical, nasty, feisty, plays with some swagger, and the safety position has changed in today's NFL given the decrease in physicality and hitting, where you don't need to be a thumper at that safety spot like back in the day with Niners general manager John Lynch bringing the boom, or Ed Reed, Brian Dawkins, Sean Taylor, RIP. You could get away with being a coverage safety who's a little bit smaller as long as you can tackle. And Renardo Green, a pretty sound tackler. And this Niners safety position, when I canvass this San Francisco roster, in addition to offensive line and backup tight end, one of the bigger concerns on this Niners team, which is still stacked going into this upcoming season, because you're not sure when Hufanga's going to be able to come back. Jair Brown is one of my breakout candidates for this year. I think he's going to have a monster sophomore campaign, but then you take a gander at some of the backups here. Eric Harris, career journeyman. Malik Mustapha, I like his game. He has a lot of versatility to his game, but he's a rookie. And then George Odom, career special teamer. Taylor Hawkins, don't think he's a safety in this league who can start for an extended period of time. And the Niners have an intriguing UDFA in Jalen Mahoney, but he was a UDFA for a reason. As for the latest on Hufanga's recovery, he said that the goal this spring is to be ready by week 1. But he tore his ACL in late November, so no promises there. The good news with his recovery, it was a clean tear, meaning there weren't other ligaments involved. He was dealing with the knee issue prior to tearing his ACL, which I think weakened the knee a little bit, but that's not expected to be a long-term concern or ailment. And as far as Renardo Green starting at safety, I thought Matt Mayoko at NBC Sports Bay Area said something very interesting. He said Renardo Green is one of these players that really has an opportunity coming in fresh, working at nickelback while they were talking about the safety spot on their podcast on NBC Sports Bay Area, while getting some reps on the outside. They used their second-round pick on Green while bringing in other players at corner. And the easiest answer for the Niners, and the one they would like to see, Renardo Green steps in from day one and owns that nickelback position. And in turn, what that could lead to, Charvarius Ward as your top outside corner, with Deommodore Lenoir as your other outside corner on the other side, with Renardo Green playing slot nickel. And this was a position of weakness last year for San Francisco. Steve Wilkes was very high on Isaiah Oliver. He thought he was one of the best slot corners in the game, but he was terrible for San Francisco. And then it got to a point when the Niners benched Ambry Thomas in the Super Bowl, and Deommodore Lenoir moved to the outside. Logan Ryan, who retired, and clearly his best days were behind him, was getting significant snaps out of the slot in the Super Bowl against Kansas City. And the Chiefs certainly identified that mismatch, and they exploited it. San Francisco can't run into that issue again, which is why Green is an intriguing player who at Florida State played primarily on the outside, has the traits to play inside, but the Niners historically over the last couple of years have really used their safeties as versatile chess pieces. Talanoa Hufanga can play everywhere. Slot, blitzes, hybrid linebacker. Jair Brown can do a lot of the same. So I think that Green could see snaps significantly from the jump in a little bit of that hybrid role and maybe hold up on that back end. Of course, the question, can he play the safety position? Because his snap counts at Florida State, few and far between did he get snaps at safety. And you look at the last 3 years for Renardo Green, snaps by alignment, according to Pro Football Focus. In 2023, 17 snaps around the defensive line. He would have to do that a little bit if he was included in some of those blitz calls or playing safety around the line of scrimmage like Talanoa Hufanga has been able to do, and he's certainly caused havoc in that role. 15 snaps out of the slot, 584 snaps at cornerback, 29 snaps in the box, 5 snaps deep. That also would fulfill the safety role. In 2022, 4 snaps around the D-line. Once again, 15 snaps in the slot, 538 snaps at outside corner, 28 snaps in the box with 9 snaps deep. But in 2021, 1 snap around the defensive line, 61 snaps in the slot, 0 at outside corner, 51 in the box, and 96 deep. So the last 2 years, Renardo Green primarily outside corner, and last year led the ACC in pass breakups, but has minimal experience playing in the slot, playing deep at that safety position where he would be able to assume that role from time to time. And again, that's good insurance and a good insurance policy with Hufanga coming off that injury. Speaking of that safety position, what is your level of concern there? I want you to scale it from 1 to 100. 1, not concerned one bit. 100, very, very concerned. As for NFL.com's scouting report on Renardo Green in the pre-draft process, here is the overall scouting report on him. Pure press man corner whose inspired coverage against LSU's talented receiver core should carry weight in his evaluation. He shut down Malik Neighbors, by the way. Green is patient to match the release and possesses good agility to recover quickly when beaten. He has elite body control, which allows him to phase double moves and route breaks. He's quick to close and tackle when beaten. Physical play, sometimes gets him flagged inside the route, and he doesn't find the football often enough when routes travel downfield. He can improve in run support, but he's more than willing. Green might need safety help over the top, but his route tracing and catch restriction over the first 2 levels give him a good chance of becoming an above-average starter outside or from the slot. And we talked about this at the time when the Niners drafted him. Some people thought that he was a 3rd-round pick, 4th-round pick, 5th-round pick. Niners snatched him up in the 2nd round, so they may have overdrafted him. But in a lot of ways reminds me of Deommodore Lenoir, nasty, swagger, physical, can make some plays on the football, a little bit smaller, hasn't kept Demo from being a really good player in this league. NFL.com with their strengths in their scouting report for Renardo Green, and then we'll hit the weaknesses. Outstanding play against Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas against LSU. Excellent change of direction to phase double moves and comebacks. Flows with bends of the route and stays in the receiver's pocket. Doesn't allow bigger opponents to bully him for space. Sifts quickly through combo routes and adjust coverages. Chokes the catch point with positioning and aggression. Reliable run defender near the line of scrimmage, and being good against the run could help him at that safety position or out of the slot. And then the weaknesses. Physical playing style is likely to be penalized more in the NFL than it was in college. That's because he gets a little bit handsy. Face guards, but fails to find the ball and time up catch disruption. Almost all of his touchdowns allowed came on fades. Average burst on the throw from his trigger. Needs to prove that he can carry vertical receivers deep. The fade route. Easy to see why Renardo Green would get beat there. That little fade. You throw that ball up, sometimes he can get beaten on the jump ball by taller and more physical wide receivers. Certainly going to be an interesting story to monitor come Niners training camp, which gets underway July 23rd when the entire team reports, rookies reporting a week before that. Give me a follow on social media. I put out a lot of thoughts on the Niners, a lot of short-form content there, at Chase_Senior on X and Instagram. I always enjoy chopping it up with the faithful. Segment number 2, in the rear view. We move forward to segment number 3. We're going to have a good conversation about Christian McCaffrey here. Roberto Davis, Devilman, Ricardo typing F Seattle. That's good stuff. Roberto also said Wilkes was a bad fit as defensive coordinator. We figured that out. Niners agreed. That's why they let him go. Here's our Super Chat menu. If you want to donate to the show and send us in a tip, we, of course, appreciate that. And we'll have some fun. Tony DeWeese is here. Ernesto, BK from the Bay. It's good to see some OGs in the building. Sans Industrial. I see you as well in the comment section. Get those questions in right now, by the way. Hashtag 49ers. Or if you send in a super chat during our mailbag segment, you will be the first person in line to get your questions answered. And if we get to 200 in total super chats, I'm throwing on the Jerry Rice jersey. If anybody sends in a 100, I'm doing a beer boot. Let's move forward to segment number 3, or as some might say, matriculate to segment number 3. Big word.
Guys, we got no questions in right now. What we doing?
What's up?
What's going on, man?
What's up?
I know y'all got some questions. You know how I know? Because I've seen you asking questions in the chat. But we're not using hashtag 49ers. You got to use the hashtag 49ers or else I won't be able to get the question on the screen. I've seen some good ones, some good hot takes, some people asking some questions but not using the hashtag, man.
Yeah.
So like Lorenzo right there, use that hashtag, man. Paul Steele, use that hashtag. We'll get that on the show.
Let's get it. Segment number 3, I'm going to pose this question. Is the Christian McCaffrey trade one of the best NFL trades over the last decade? Certainly has been impactful for the Niners. And we're going to take a look at some of the more marquee trades over the last 10 years. Segment number 3 coming your way right now. Don't go anywhere if you want to be informed. Coming up on today's San Francisco 49ers Report, I'm Chase Senior. Is the Christian McCaffrey trade one of the best NFL trades over the last decade? A player personnel executive said that to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler in ESPN's running back rankings, in which Christian McCaffrey came in at number 1. And we're also going to take a look back at that trade, the impact and the numbers that CMC has had while with the Niners, and also take a gander at some of the more marquee trades in the NFL over the last 10 years. I first want you to predict the stat line for McCaffrey in 2024. Last season, top 5 MVP voting, NFL Offensive Player of the Year, 2,000 all-purpose yards. He ran for 1,459 yards. In 2024, will he go over or will he go under Let me know down in the comment section right now. So as part of this ESPN poll and them ranking players at every single position as part of their pre-training camp coverage, execs, coaches, scouts, ranking the top 10 running backs in this instance going into the 2024 season. Christian McCaffrey came in at number 1 last year. He ranked number 2 behind Nick Chubb. And Christian McCaffrey has been a fantastic player for the Niners. Last year, he was undoubtedly the best running back in the National Football League. And here's what ESPN had to say about him. Health and a killer offense have elevated McCaffrey to his rightful place as the best tailback and a top player in all of football. McCaffrey garnered more than 80% of the first place votes. He was dominant in every category. He consistently got positive yards before contact, 888 of them, and after contact, 571, ranking first and second in those respective areas. The Niners got 5.5 yards per carry when giving McCaffrey the ball on first downs. Wow, that makes second down and third down a lot more manageable. Inside the tackles, McCaffrey averaged 4.9 yards per carry, fourth among running backs, and that's before considering his elite receiving ability as he caught 67 passes for 564 yards last year. With what he was able to do, we're going to look back at the 2023 McCaffrey season as one of the best running back single seasons in the history of the NFL. Niners won, offense was humming, and since the trade, he has changed the complexion of this offense, the look of this offense, the feel of it, because of that versatility, but the overall elite play. Here's what an NFL offensive line coach who has coached McCaffrey had to say. He does everything exceptionally. Explosiveness, vision, technique, versatility, great teammate, hardest worker, dedicated in the offseason. The only thing holding him back was when he was hurt. But he's exactly how you would draw up a football player. And all of that, I think, is why Kyle Shanahan absolutely loves Christian McCaffrey. Last offseason, during minicamp, OTAs, he was there for every practice, going hard, putting in so much effort, because how you practice translates to the game. Now, this offseason, he was not on hand for OTAs and did not practice in mandatory minicamp as he was looking for that new contract, which, by the way, I was right about. He ended up getting that. But just the way that he carries himself, you can tell he's so precise with everything that he does. Everything is intentional. Everything is calculated. I was watching the other week some of his sprint workouts that he does during the offseason, and there is a specific plan behind that. And then some of the stretching exercises, explosiveness stuff that he does to get the fast twitch muscles going. And then on the football field, you can just see with the way that he moves that all of that training translates to the field. The guy just loves ball, and that's why Shanahan absolutely loves him, because Shanahan is a football guru and nerd. Furthermore, here's what ESPN had to say on McCaffrey. He has 3 seasons with at least 1,000 rushing yards and 700 receiving yards, trailing only Marshall Faulk, who had 4 of those in NFL history. He was the 2023 leader in explosive plays, 10-yard runs, and 20-yard receptions. So just that ability to impact the game in a plethora of areas, running to the perimeter, in between the tackles, catching balls out of the backfield, lining up in the slot. I think McCaffrey, if he wants to, can really extend his NFL prime by not transitioning to wide receiver, but playing more wide receiver. Some defenders across the NFL think that he could be one of the best wide receivers in the game because of the footwork and the route running, which goes back to his approach to the game of football. And if he could stay healthy, he's certainly on a Hall of Fame track here. You look at his resume, 2023 NFL Offensive Player of the Year. He was the rushing yards leader last year, top 5 MVP voting, a 3-time All-Pro, one of those as a flex. Now, we're not talking fantasy football. He's also been a 3-time Pro Bowler. Now, he is going to be 28 years old. We know that running backs can age overnight, But I think McCaffrey is one of those unique players with the way that he trains, takes care of his body, his love for the game of football. I think his prime could be extended a little bit. That would, of course, be ideal with San Francisco or for San Francisco, given they signed him to that contract extension, which runs through 2027. To the question of today's show, though, is it the best trade in the NFL over the last decade? San Francisco, according to a player personnel executive, made one of the best trades of the decade when they got him in 2022. He is the perfect fit for what they do. And that perfect fit is why he's helped take that offense to another level. Here are the trade details. And as part of that question, you, of course, have to talk about the value of the trade and the player that you got back in McCaffrey. So the Niners got CMC going into the deadline 2 seasons ago. The Panthers got a 2nd, 4th, and 5th round pick. And while with the Niners, McCaffrey has totaled 2,711 rushing yards, 1,241 receiving yards, and he has combined for 39 total touchdowns. He's found the paint plenty of times. The CMC trade and the acquisition of him has also led to a lot of wins. In 2023, with McCaffrey as the starter, because he did not start that first game against the Chiefs, but as a starter, the Niners went 12-1 total. That's regular season and playoffs. In 2024, 14-5 as the starter. Since the McCaffrey trade, the Niners have a 26-6 record. It's crazy. If you think McCaffrey is the best running back in the NFL, like ESPN thinks, as part of their preseason rankings, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Coming up next, we're going to take a look at the top trades that come to mind over the last decade or so. But we also want to tell you about this deal. Thanks to our friends at Fanatics, the Niners t-shirt combo. You get 2 shirts for the price of 1. Scarlet, red, and black on sale. Sleek design. You'll be looking good, feeling good while supporting San Francisco for only $45. All you got to do, plug in that link down below, chatsports.com/49combo. The other notable trades over the last 10 years. The Chiefs traded up for Patrick Mahomes in 2017. Sean Payton really wanted him with New Orleans. He told Drew Brees, who was in the draft room that night, according to Peter Schrager, that they could be making that move. Chiefs leapfrogged the Saints, took Mahomes, and now they have won 3 Super Bowls. And he's changed the NFL and might go down as one of, if not the best quarterbacks of all time when it's all said and done. The Detroit Lions trading Matthew Stafford to the Rams in 2021. Rams, they win a Super Bowl right from the jump. Anytime you can do that, the trade worth it. How about the Baltimore Ravens trading up for Lamar Jackson in 2018 at the end of the first round? Lamar Jackson has won 2 NFL MVPs. This trade has not worked out, but it was a notable one, at least for the Cleveland Browns when they traded for Deshaun Watson in 2022. The Houston Texans, on the other hand, got rid of Deshaun Watson, and that kind of opened up the opportunity a couple of years later to draft C.J. Stroud, who looks to be an absolute stud. The Seahawks trading Russell Wilson to the Broncos in 2022. A disastrous trade for the Denver Broncos. They traded him away, and they're eating $35, $36 million this year to see Russ play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. For the Seahawks, they got off of Russell Wilson, and that proved to be a big move for them. And then the Philadelphia Eagles trading for A.J. Brown. Huge move to bring in a number 1. They had missed on Jalen Reagor, and A.J. Brown has put up arguably the best 2 consecutive years in the history of that Eagles organization at wide receiver. And then the Broncos in season traded Von Miller to the Rams, and Von Miller was pivotal to the Rams being able to win that Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford. And then the Bears trading the number 1 pick to the Carolina Panthers. What then happened, right? The Panthers took Bryce Young, and then the Bears got the Panthers pick to draft Caleb Williams. Not a good trade for Carolina. So as far as in-season trades go, Christian McCaffrey, Von Miller, the two biggest in-season trades. And then over the course of NFL history, especially if the Niners win a Super Bowl with McCaffrey still helping to lead the charge, the McCaffrey trade, one of the best trades in the history of the NFL regardless. Be sure to subscribe to us here on the Niners Report for shows coming your way every day. My goal every time I hop in front of the mic and on camera to provide you with Niners content that is insightful, informative, entertaining, that involves you. So if all that sounds good, hit that sub button. One more segment to go. And we've made it up to this point without talking about a Brandon Aiyuk trade. But we're going to talk about a Brandon Aiyuk trade coming up here in a second. Paul Steele, I agree. Tony Belcher says BA plays 10 games. Watch him sit. I don't think it gets to that point. Paul Steele, Texans going to be tough. Happy for Coach D'Amico Ryans. I agree. Let's see. What else do we have? Can't wait to play Rodgers and the Jets week 1 from Paul. Roberto saying F Seattle. Love it. Versus Bang Bang Niner Gang. Here's our Super Chat menu. No Super Chats yet today. If you want to send one in, send it right now. Do we have any questions, Chip?
We got 2 questions.
2 questions.
2 questions.
So last call to get involved in our mailbag. If you want your questions answered, now's your opportunity. As good of a chance as you'll have to get your questions answered here on the show. Hashtag 49ers. We're sending a super chat. We're going to talk Brandon Aiyuk. And then on the back end, we are going to take whatever questions do come in. We've had 2 come in so far. Hashtag 49ers. Send in a super chat.
Big shout out to Ricardo and Lorenzo getting a couple questions in.
Awesome stuff. Let's pivot. Let's move on.
Wet Noodle. What's up, Wet Noodle? Says, wife and I will be at the Rams game in December for our anniversary. That is a lot of fun, man. And I hope it's a 49ers win. Just to put the cherry on top. Congrats to you, Wet Noodle. Hope that game is fun. December game, too. That could be a big one. That could be coming down the wire for the division. So it doesn't get much bigger than that. Wet Noodle, a real one. Hashtag 49ers. Get those questions in. We're about to start the mailbag, so last chance. Last chance.
All right, let's do it. Let's talk Aiyuk to the Commanders. Bleacher Report proposing a very interesting trade that I would not make if I'm the Niners. And then we'll take your questions. Ricardo getting another one in. Hashtag 49ers. All right, let's do it. Did Aiyuk hint at a trade to the Commanders? I don't even know how this is possible, but he posted a photo of him watching Commanders spring tape on TikTok. Let's dive into it. On the rundown for today's San Francisco 49ers report, did Brandon Aiyuk hint at a trade to the Washington Commanders? We're going to explore that because he shared a photo of him watching Commanders spring tape on TikTok. Bleacher Report also proposing just a ludicrous trade that I would not make and pull the trigger on if I was John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. And then we're going to take some questions from the faithful. Let's first take a look at our July rival sub-battle. Let's overtake the Dallas Cowboys report. I hate the Cowboys. Do you hate the Cowboys as well? Well, let's get a victory against them once again, not just on the field because the Niners recently have dominated Dallas, but also inside the walls of Chat Sports. Since July 1, Cowboys report picking up 138 new subscribers. Niners report at 98. We are beating the Seahawks, but let's distance ourselves from the fraudulent Seattle Seahawks, and let's overtake the fraudulent Dallas Cowboys. A Brandon Aiyuk trade to Washington. Let's explore it here. I know a lot of you are fatigued by the Aiyuk trade talk, but I'm just doing my job, and there continues to be smoke, and where there's smoke, there's fire. Bleacher Report putting together an article that included firework trades honoring July 4th, that would transform the league in 2024. They have Aiyuk being sent to the Commanders, and there are a lot of ties that link Aiyuk to Washington. What are they? This is why Brandon Aiyuk could be eyeing Washington, and why Washington could be eyeing Brandon Aiyuk. Adam Peters was the Niners' former assistant general manager. He's now the new GM with the Commanders. Washington has the second most cap space in the NFL right now, and next year in 2025, more than $70 million in cap space. Aiyuk, best friends with Jaden Daniels. He brought him on the set of the Pivot podcast and said specifically he'd like to play for him if he can't reach a deal with San Francisco. They overlapped and played with one another at Arizona State. And Aiyuk, over the weekend, posting a photo of him watching Jaden Daniels during Commanders OTAs from the spring. And I'm not even sure how this is legal, but Aiyuk posted this on his TikTok page. Commanders rocking Jane Daniels rocking the number 5 in that Commanders uniform. Clearly some film that Aiyuk is checking out from OTAs or mandatory minicamp. And I think it's all pretty interesting. And that's why there continues to be all of this buzz behind a potential Aiyuk trade to Washington. And Aiyuk literally said, if I don't get a deal done with San Francisco, I'd like to play for Washington or the Pittsburgh Steelers. And on top of that, Bleacher Report proposing this Aiyuk trade as part of that aforementioned article, where the Niners only get back a second-round pick in 2025 and a third-round pick in 2026. I know that I said this before the draft, but my point still stands. Brandon Aiyuk was taken 25th overall in the 2020 draft. He's gotten better all 4 years he's been in the NFL. Last year, he was the second-team All-Pro, meaning he's one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League. The starting point in negotiations, if I'm willing to trade Brandon Aiyuk, or we can't come to an agreement, is a first-round pick to match that. I get it, the acquiring team has to pay Brandon Aiyuk, but if I'm trading away a special player, I need something good back. And a second-round pick in 2025 and a third-round pick in 2026 simply does not cut it. And it's not like Aiyuk has a lot of leverage. Fifth-year option, he's under contract, $14+ million, and San Francisco could put the franchise tag on him next year. I would not make this trade if I'm the Niners. Here was Bleacher Report's reasoning behind it, and I'll share the screen here. A trade of Aiyuk would indicate a few things. One, that San Francisco's brass was ultimately forced to throw in the towel on extending their star wideout. The other, that former Niners assistant general manager Adam Peters is not shying away from acquiring a player of Aiyuk's caliber to place around his new signal caller in Jaden Daniels, a close friend of Aiyuk. It was just weeks ago when Daniels, Aiyuk's teammate during their time at Arizona State, joined the Niners wideout on FaceTime to discuss Aiyuk's plans. In a post to TikTok in June, Aiyuk added further intrigue to his current contract situation, saying to Daniels, "They don't want me back." Washington has a pair of dynamic wideouts in Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. The team also drafted Luke McCaffrey, Christian McCaffrey's brother, in the 3rd round. But adding Aiyuk would elevate the group to arguably the best trio of wideouts in the game. Keep in mind, they probably would want to surround Jaden Daniels during his rookie contract with as many weapons as possible with that cap space. Aiyuk and Daniels' relationship has been well documented this offseason, and if the Niners are to move their stud pass catcher elsewhere, Washington could be the favorite to land his services. The Commanders also have $37 million in cap room right now, and $77.2 in cap room next year that they could pay Aiyuk. If I'm San Francisco, I want a Terry McLaurin, I want a Jahan Dotson, I want a Jonathan Allen, and if you can't give me that, you got to give me the 1st-round pick. If not that, no bueno. Would you make this trade? Niners get a 2nd-round pick and a 3rd-round pick, as I noted. Commanders get Aiyuk, and you send him in conference to an emerging team? Hell nah. A for accept, D for decline. Let me know down in the comment section right now. Barry Z, with this one coming in. If we trade Brandon Aiyuk to the Commanders, could we get Terry McLaurin back? See, that's a player that I would think about bringing back if I'm San Francisco. He's a good player who's been a very productive player. He's also a lot cheaper than what Brandon Aiyuk is going to demand. Terry McLaurin's contract, cap hit in 2024 of $24.1 million, cash $18.5, and he's under contract through the 2025 season. So you get that team control there, and you get to save a little bit of money, and you bring in a player who's been highly productive during his time in the National Football League. So that's what I would kind of be asking for. Now, I know the Niners drafted Ricky Pearsall in round 1, Jacob Cowing a little bit later, but they're rookies. And this is a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. I don't give away special. I don't trade away special. You got burned with the DeForest Buckner trade, and I'm not doing that again. I'm not allowing history to repeat itself. Wet Noodle, hot take here. I see us signing a safety after week 1 of the preseason. I could see it happening. During our live show this week, talking a lot about that safety spot. Do you bring back Deshaun Gibson after the suspension? Could Renardo Green get snaps there? Do you sign a talented, coveted safety who's still out there in a Justin Simmons, a Quandre Diggs, a Kareem Jackson? I would not go the route of Jamal Adams. Lorenzo Ramos, who's going to be the second linebacker? Fair question, and that's obviously until Dre Greenlaw can come back. When does he come back? That's the big question. Tore his Achilles in February. I think that he's going to start the year on PUP, and we'll see him midway point of the year, best case scenario, if not toward the end of the year. Maybe we don't see Dre Greenlaw at all. Like the Achilles, that's one of my worst fears in life. Getting in a car crash that I can't control, helicopter crash, plane crash, getting bitten by a shark, and tearing my Achilles. All of my biggest fears right there. Scares the shit out of me. As for who the second linebacker is going to be, Fred Warner, obviously. You brought in Devondre Campbell to be the holdover plan, but look out for D. Winters and Jalen Graham. And then outside of that, you have Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles. But I'm very high on D. Winters and Jalen Graham going into year 2. Fred Warner is as well. And Devondre Campbell talking about how he's loving football for the first time in a little while after a sour ending to his tenure with the Green Bay Packers. But he was a first-team All-Pro back in 2021. Ricardo Regaza. Hopefully I pronounced that right, my man. What position do you think Puni is going to play? Right guard. Right now he's the second string right guard. And I think that's going to be the position for him at the next level. Arms are a little bit shorter to play tackle. Now in a pinch, he has said that he can play there. The Niners have said in a pinch he could play there. But I think you maximize him by playing him at guard. Leon Sandcastle, do you think Aiyuk could buy Jonathan Allen and Luke McCaffrey? Now that's pretty interesting. Where you trade away Brandon Aiyuk, you get Jonathan Allen, you bulk up at defensive tackle. The depth there, a little bit of a concern, even though you remake that room by bringing in Malik Collins, and you land Luke McCaffrey as well. And then you have that young stable of wideouts in Luke McCaffrey, Jacob Cowing, and Ricky Pearsall. The issue with that, I think you have 3 slot guys. Who's going to play on the outside down the road? Maybe Pearsall could, but last year at Florida, he played a majority of the snaps out of the slot. Good question, though. That was fun. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you can tune into everything that we do. You can be informed on all things Niners, and you can be a part of the movement here on the show. How about this $5 super chat from Wedema? $5 right there. Thank you, my man. We really appreciate that. A great show here today on the San Francisco 49ers Report. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks to Chip for producing it. We are going to run. Plan is to do another live show later this week. Thursday, maybe Friday, most likely Thursday. So be on the look for that. We're talking Niners every single day here on the show, and it wouldn't be possible without the faithful. We're out of here. Thank you so much for tuning in. See ya.